Today's patio chat is being brought to you locally by Westridge Furniture in Delphus. See it all at your finer outdoor furniture store.
And welcome back out to Noon Edition. We are now ready for our next patio chat. And Dr. Bill Angel is here from OSU Lima. We're going to be talking about the same thing we talked about last month, I believe. It's the debt ceiling bill. It finally got passed with that new legislation. And both parties, I think, really kind of came out looking good as far as the president and Speaker of the House.
Well, it depends on how you look at the two parties. I mean, there were a lot of Democrats who didn't vote for that bill because mostly people on the progressive left end thought that they didn't like certain elements of it. But the Republican side of it, there's been some disruption since the bill was passed.
I know we had a lot of people hem-hawing, and I'm not voting for this, but then when the final vote was taken, they kind of succumbed to the fact that I don't want to work all weekend. This is probably the best it's going to get. I'm just going to go ahead and give it the kick the can down the road.
Yeah, well, the thing was, 149 Republicans voted for it. That's a far cry from their majority. And so they got a majority of their caucus to vote for it, but they didn't have enough to pass it. And so it took Democrat votes to pass the debt ceiling bill. And to get those Democratic votes, they had to make certain concessions, including what they had proposed originally was a $3.5 trillion budget cut over the next 10 years. And that went down to like $650 billion. So, they felt that Speaker McCarthy had given away too much. And yesterday, of course, you had a series where the Freedom Caucus basically disrupted a series of bills that should have gone forward but never got voted on.
Something a lot of people found interesting, Jim Jordan out of Ohio was talking so much before this final vote, ended up saying, yeah, I'll go for it.
Well, Jim Jordan made a good point. He said, this is the first time we've had it passed a debt ceiling bill in which we also cut spending. There was a $650 billion cut over the next 10 years. It's not $3.5 trillion, but it was a start. And there were some other elements of it that Jordan liked. And I think Jordan is basically trying to get the Freedom Caucus and other members of the Republican caucus go along with this deal. It's better than having to face a default.
Right. Absolutely. Now the question is, this will carry us over into the next presidency. Did we just simply kick the can down the road, and are we going to have to go through the same process again?
Well, I'd like to say yes. It will kick the can down the road to 2024. But there are some side bargains in there and side deals in this that were not written into the bill itself. And those side bargains could also prove to be disruptive. And what we saw yesterday with, like I say, members of the Freedom Caucus withholding their support for a simple procedural measure to get some legislation on the floor of Congress, we may see more of that to come.
This was obviously a very bipartisan Senate before, and I think it still is, but I think maybe it's changed a little bit.
Well, I think what really is surprising to me is the way the House became sort of bipartisan, because they had to. The House Republicans only have a 5-vote majority. They need Democratic votes to pass things. And so there has to be some give and take. And one of the things that I think has impressed me is that people sort of underestimated Speaker McCarthy, and he was able to get the daggone thing passed. Now he's having to push with some feedback, but anybody who's been in a position of political leadership is always going to have to deal with stuff like that.
All right, Bill, thank you for your time today. Medical is coming up next with Holly as we return.